Welcome to another Peterson podcast. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about viruses. That's from page 52 through 55 of your Indiana Science textbook. Viruses are basically strands of DNA, which is hereditary material surrounded by a protein coat. Here are three very basic shapes of viruses. You can see that they have all three have very similar structures, which is the protein outer shell, and the DNA is located inside of that protein coat. Viruses are extremely small. On the chart, you can see that we started at atoms. Atoms can combine to form small molecules like water. Longer or bigger molecules can form proteins. And then, as I said, those proteins can bond together, have DNA on the inside of them, and those are about the size of viruses. We've also talked a little bit about bacteria. Bacteria are prokaryotes and are what you can see are next on the graph, followed by eukaryotes, which are larger cells. Are viruses living or non-living? Well, let's take a look at the 5 characteristics of living things we've already talked about in the Living Things PowerPoint. First of all, they are not made up of cells. They also do not grow and develop. Viruses do not use energy. Viruses do not respond to their surroundings. About the only thing that viruses do that is lifelike is they are able to reproduce. And notice I have an asterisk next to that. And I have that there because they really can't reproduce on their own. They have to reproduce inside of a host. So let's see what a host is. A host is a living thing that provides a source of energy for a virus or organism. And so it provides a place for that organism or virus to live. So a virus and organism that lives in a host is considered a parasite. That's an organism that lives on or in a host and usually causes that host harm. Almost all viruses act like parasites because they must be inside of a living cell to reproduce, and often they will destroy the cell in which they are multiplying. Viruses are broken down into 2 basic types. There's an active virus and a hidden or latent virus. Examples of active viruses will be cold or the influenza virus, which is commonly called the flu. After entering the cell, it immediately goes into action. Virus's genetic material will take over the cell's function, causing it to make new viruses. Now, a hidden virus is a little different. Examples would be cold sores. They don't take action immediately. These viruses will remain hidden until they become active. So let's first go over the steps of an active virus. An active virus will first attach itself to the cell, inject its genetic material into the cell. The cell then produces the viral proteins and genetic material. Those parts are assembled to form new viruses. The cells then burst when they are full, releasing the new viruses out into the environment. A hidden virus is a little bit different, but there are some of the steps are the same. Just like in the other one, the viruses will attach itself to the cell and inject its genetic material. The virus genetic material becomes part of the cell's genetic material and will just wait. It'll wait until the virus becomes active. The cells produce viral proteins and genetic material, and then the parts are assembled to make new viruses, and the cell will burst, releasing the virus. So really the only step that is different is instead of going immediately into action, the virus will actually hide the DNA inside the DNA of the host cell. The effects on organisms: most viruses can only attach to one kind of host cell. The proteins on the outer shell of a virus will, in general, only allow it to enter one type of cell. So, for example, The disease AIDS will only attack white blood cells. It will not attack red blood cells. Most viruses are transferred by air. They can also be transferred via objects, and they can be transferred using a vector or another organism or mosquito, or different viruses have different ways they are transported. A virus can also enter a bacteria. That particular virus is called a bacteriophage, and as you can see in this picture, there are several bacteriophages attached to this particular bacteria. When you're fighting viruses, a good thing to remember is prevention. A vaccine is a weakened virus particle that will help you not be infected by that virus. So like the flu shot, when you get the flu shot, they're injecting you with a weakened flu particle that will help you build up a resistance to that particular strain of the virus. This is called a vaccine. The vaccine was first established by Edward Jenner to help fight smallpox. If you happen to get a virus, the best thing you can do is to rest. You can't get a vaccine once you already have the virus. There are some antiviral medications, but they are used very sparingly because sometimes they'll have some negative side effects. So if you get the flu, the best thing you can do is simply rest. Some viruses are good. They can be used in gene therapy because viruses do one thing well, and that is deliver DNA to a host cell. And so scientists can use that to deliver new DNA into host cells. So someday there might be a cure for things like genetic disorders or cancers using a virus to actually change the DNA